Right, welcome back. And at least 10 people were killed while 3 people are nursing gunshot wounds following a deadly clash along the Meru-Isiolo boundary. About 1,000 people were displaced in Igembe Central after the violence erupted. Meanwhile, Meru Governor Peter Munya has urged the Devolution Ministry to compensate those affected by the Igembe killings. He has also urged the government to beef up security along the Meru-Isiolo border.
Tunauliza usalama uletwe, kambi za GSU ziletwe pande hii ya Getwe na Kinanduba. Hiyo tunataka kambi ya GSU na ile RNDU ziletwe pande hii na ziletwe insufficient numbers. Hakuna haja uko na police post, uko na polisi watatu ambao hawana vifaa. Watasaidia nani? Hata wao wametoroka bado tuwakija.
So reports are that it was Borana bandits who actually invaded this particular region in Meru and did what they did there. And of course, it's a very sensitive time because we've just lost the CS for Interior, and we have Matiang'i in an acting capacity. Oruko, what does this portend for us? Given I keep on saying, I've been saying for the past, I think, 2 months, it's a sensitive time, and attacks seem to be increasing.
They're not really sensitive times, but this is the lifestyle. This is how people in that part of the world live. Livestock is part and parcel of their lives. I know where you come from is education, but for them, livestock remains everything. Okay. So you touch it, you trigger war. But certainly, I've not really followed this conflict. I'm hearing for the first time from you the cause, which, in my view, has been missing from all the reports I've read in the papers, exactly what triggered it.
Yes.
But one thing I may appreciate that politics is not so much on it, meaning that it's just the usual playground games that people around that place.
It's disheartening for you to say usual, Oruko, because people
are usual.
Die.
I have said.
They're not usual.
Yeah.
These conflicts, Meru, Isiolo conflicts, they're always there during election time. If you follow it up, back to around 10 years ago, we always see these boundary wars. One, for me, as an observer who've been observing, either some people are trying to displace others so as they can be voted in, because they always recur. And after elections, you'll hear, we have peace. After elections, we have peace. So, but yes, after people have been killed, of course, war brings death. But what I want most, because we have a National Cohesion and Integration Commission, which will be arbitrating these issues. They should not be responding to deaths. People who already died. They should be going there to deflect these tensions earlier enough.
They're on social media right now looking for bloggers, so I think they're a bit busy. To be honest,
ouch.
To be honest, they spent a lot of time, and I think to their credit, they're trying to reduce the sort of hate speech that they feel is insightful online. But as you have noted, the real challenge is on the ground in areas like this where you have periodic and perennial conflict that is pushed by the political circumstances. I agree with you in the sense that it might be a situation where someone wants to displace a certain amount of population to, influence the outcome of the election, or basically, gain power through violent means. I also agree with Governor Munya in the sense that, look, what is the Interior Ministry doing about this? He's noted that they have a police post with only 3 people. I don't know where that is.
But the ministry, of course, is in a state of flux right now because their leader has just passed on.
No, right now. Julie, it has to be able to run my head up.
At this particular point in time, they have just lost it. It remains, but leadership is very important.
How long has been the Interior CS? How long have we had the police service in place?
Before he passed on,
this idea of
particular attack had not happened.
They go with the institutions.
Okay.
That because once you have functioning structures, even whether your leaders are not there, they should work. But remember, the border conflict of Meru and Isiolo is not starting today.
Right.
It is something that has even been discussed in Parliament, and that is just one of the border clashes that have been recurring. And I disagree with my colleagues when they say that it is now eminent because of the elections. I don't think so. I think somebody slept on the job, because we are losing people every single day.
Let's look at this in terms of the broader security context, because just news coming in is that at least 6 police officers have been shot dead and 4 injured in a shootout with bandits in Laikipia West. So, and we've had the Al-Shabaab attacks in Lamu, we've had them in various other places, and so I think the sensitive time is kind of creating a loophole or giving opportunistic attackers an opportunity, especially since, and I will say again, the Ministry of Interior is in a state of flux.
Stop that.
The way we address our issues.
For
instance, the Laikipia attacks.
We
always love cosmetic way of addressing issues. Laikipia attacks, they're about grazing lands. They're about our livestock. But instead of us addressing them, we call these guys illegal grazers. Instead of going to tell them, now we have issues or conflicts of pasture and water. How do we provide for you? So as you don't fight.
That is the question.
But now,
how do you solve the root causes, or of all these conflicts?
That's what we ran away from.
I think you took it upon me. I said this is the usual playground. That life in those parts of Kenya revolves around livestock. Yeah? And Rajaba said very clearly, whenever this livestock has a certain problem in terms of grazing, we brand them a name, so that they become easy targets for shooting. Last time, you remember, I think 1,000 animals were, we deployed some officers to go and just kill animals. Yeah, maybe you forget.
Animals.
But the solution is that, as I said, let education matter to them. Let us remove the appetite for cattle. And how do you do that? You take people to school. Maybe
is that a long-term solution to this problem?
That is exactly. It takes several cycles.
Now, anyway.
Right.
Progressively and
anyway, culture shift takes time. You can't just wake up and tell them, we don't want you to be pastoralists. These guys do pastoralism. But there is a way you can really mitigate. Like, if someone has a ranch, 1,000 acres, and I have 1,000 cattle, on half an acre, and you tell me I can't cross over, and when there is drought, I can't cross over and have my cattle watered around your ranch. Do you expect me to keep peace? I'll see that as an injustice. So
I agree. Speaking of, I think these are historical injustices, yes, but they're being aggravated by the fact that we're going into an election, and perhaps security is being deployed to other areas.
Election is just an excuse.
Election can't be an excuse
because life cannot stop.
Okay, let me say this, you raised earlier the idea that Kenyans are becoming more independent, they're becoming more vocal, and this is one of the expressions that you're seeing, that people are just saying, you know what, I'm tired of having my 1,000 cattle on my 1 acre, and Cookie Goldman has 100,000 acres, we're going to discuss it huko mbele, and that's what's happening. So those historical injustices that we haven't dealt with, they're in the TGRC report, that people have refused to implement.
Okay, before we jump into that, let's stick with matter security, because police have circulated photographs of 6 men they say are wanted over terror and radicalization claims. This was after investigations by the security agencies revealed that several Kenyan nationals who are fighting alongside Al-Shabaab in Somalia are enticing youths within the country to travel to Somalia and join the terror group. The public has been urged to share any information that may lead to the arrest of Abdullahi Jarso Kotola, Hassan Jarso Kotola, Hassan Abdallah Mushi, James Kimanthi Masai, and Hamisi Swale Abdallah, and Rama Mubwana Mbega. So I said earlier, we're sticking with matter security, and as you can see, this is not an isolated problem or even incident. This is happening across the country. So even as these are historical injustices where people are flaring up because over land issues or perhaps over a terror issue that has not been dealt with correctly, I must insist, people, that there's a loophole somewhere in terms of security because of the general election.
I think one of the serious problems I had when the late minister died on, was it Friday? I think the reason the president explained in his quick replacement was exactly to express your own fears, that the ministry cannot be allowed to be without the head. So there's no vacuum. So Mr. Magufuli took over.
Oruko, surely.
She's called Matiang'i.
Yes, Matiang'i, yes.
So, precisely to address your fears. And by the way, with all due respect, I think the ministry has never been a better person, in a better hand. A forceful character, a go-getter, a doer, and whatever you may say he is. So, And in any case, by the way, the role of the minister is limited to policy. There's a police officer called Joseph Boynat,
yes,
whose mandate is actually to secure this country.
Right.
And they say, in discharging that very important function, he receives instruction from no one. So don't tell us about flags.
Okay,
There's
so,
no flags.
why does it seem, Ruko, why does it seem that these attacks are escalating? It's been quiet for a minute, but anyway, I'll also talk about radicalization. We haven't heard much. Maybe the media has not reported this as much as we should do, but all of a sudden, we're hearing this almost every other day, Betty. Is it a problem in the coverage?
First of all, let's agree on one thing. The media does not cover when poor people are dying. 9 people died the other day, and we talked about how Raila had a stomachache, and until today, I'm telling you, it's not because I've not tried to look. I don't know the names of these 9 people. I really don't know the names of these 9 people. They died in Lamu. And so that tells you about the area of interest for the media, the area of interest for the political elite is within themselves, and that's what happens. So the kind of insecurity you're having happens when you have a political elite that is only interested in themselves securing and retaining power. The police machinery, the security machinery is put in place to ensure that they secure and retain their power. That's why Cookie Gorman is sitting pretty in Laikipia. I'm not going to go into that. That's a long story. But the issues you're seeing right now is because of that gap between doing things for the republic and doing things for an elite.
But this particular...
And that's my view on that.
Fair point, Betty. But this particular attack now was by Al-Shabaab on who people they claimed were non-Muslims. So this was like a terror attack, which is slightly different. Been cut off by the buzzer myself. Quickly, Roslyn.
I think media covered the attacks in Lamu, and I think there was even an operation, and we saw even people fleeing.
There has been an operation.
Yes. The only thing is that this is a political season, and people want to hear about politics. And even our security people, we've not seen them come out and just tell us what exactly are they doing in Lamu. And that's why I think we're also seeing these recurrent incidences, because what the statements we get from the police are about how they're going to deploy officers in hotspot areas. So the media tends to shift to that as opposed to what exactly is happening. But we saw Matiang'i come out so strong, and even Gazette just some hours after he was named the acting CS. Right. But all of a sudden he has gone mute. Is he soul searching fast to see how
I get it. But for this terror attack, I said, especially around election, we showed these things. The trend was there in 2012, 2013, and it's now recurring. Maybe someone wants to change the narrative, the political narrative, and now we focus on terror attack and seek sympathy around. But I really pray one day someone will do in a journal of war on the link between Kenyan elections and terror attacks.
Well, yeah. Let me just before you go, Ruko, sorry, just to give some context to this. I think I jumped the gun a bit because I was actually talking about non-locals in Jima village, which is in Lamu County, who were evacuated because indeed that was where 9 men were beheaded, like Betty was talking about. And the militants had actually ransacked homes and farms in Jima looking for non-Muslims, but many of them had fled. So we're kind of seeing we're reverting to a pattern of the rhetoric again is becoming Muslim versus non-Muslim, in addition to all the other problems we have with security.
Yeah. But I'll go fast on this, because when someone thinks that he's fighting for me as a Muslim, that's just out of place. These issues of terror and terrorism, these guys kill guys in Somalia every day. Who are they killing? They're killing Muslims. So why do they come to Kenya now telling us that now we are looking for non-Muslims? It doesn't make sense to me here. And again, I should never expect in a state like Kenya, we're not a failed state, that some locals or non-locals can start being evacuated. Instead of government assuring them that we'll secure you. Why do we have these police officers? Why do we pay them? Why did we buy APC vehicles? To secure these people. So as anyone can live anywhere he wants.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're not a failed state, but it seems like we're failing in the war against terror.
One, the war against Al-Shabaab is not anything new. Lamu has been under operation for the last maybe 1 year or 2 years. The KDF and heavily militarized. Obviously, if the idea is being reduced to a religious conflict, the purpose is just to divide. And of course now I don't know whether I should say that is political or not. But whether you like it or not, she said something very important, whether you want to protect the republic or the elite. And that's what we are seeing. As a journalist, I know there are people in this country who do not want the issue of security to be covered. You know, when you write one policeman is dead, somehow you are called unpatriotic. You know, of course, a soldier goes to, you get drafted knowing that actually the ultimate thing is death or war. But when we report it, it becomes such a big problem that people don't want these things to come out. So she said it very well. Now that we are in an election mood, we have to get hotspots and forget that Al-Shabaab really exists. So it's a problem. So whether you call it Matiang'i, this is the system, the systemic problem that we shall live with forever and ever.
Well, it's really unfortunate that if these people will come to that place, even go to the mosque and pray, and nobody will even sense that we are having so many people who are coming here who are strangers. So in a way, it just says that these people are close-knit, our intelligence is sleeping, and you're not even sharing, because even the U.S. Team is just somewhere around that place. Right. Why can't we even share the intelligence and just compare before we have an attack?
I know the buzzer
very quickly, Betty.
Very quickly. But I hate to make comparisons because the two countries are very different. But in Nigeria, you'll notice that just prior to the elections, there was equally an escalation in Boko Haram attacks, and that propelled the current missing absent president into power. So it's something that it can be politically motivated around election time.
Right. Well, just to wrap up this conversation, a few hours after acting Interior CS Fred Matiang'i was appointed, he imposed a 3-month dawn-to-dusk curfew in Lamu, Tana River and Garissa counties to contain the Al-Shabaab menace. The National Security Council has declared the 3 counties and the surrounding environs as disturbed and dangerous areas. Meanwhile, a section of local leaders want the government to review the 3-month curfew imposed on the counties. The leaders also accused the government of failing to consult widely before imposing the curfew. Chama cha Uzalendo senatorial candidate Mau Wanamaka and Coast's Interfaith Council of Clerics, Lamu chairman Sheikh Mohammed Abdul Kadir, lamented the restriction would hurt local economies. Here's the thing though, do curfews really work? Do curfews work? We've been talking here about there being lapses and failures in our security system. Is a curfew the best way to address a lapse in security? Oruko, you're laughing, so I think I'll start.
No, my answer is a simple one. No. Because it has been there. It was extended, gazetted, re-gazetted, extended with very little effect. It was even lifted for political reasons. Yeah? When the president went there and it was, so it was lifted. So these things are not coordinated. In fact, the decision to curfew is not really professional, it's political. Maybe it's what botanists call a vacuum activity. Just do something so that you seem to be doing something.
You just came from saying that Matiang'i was the best choice for that particular docket.
I didn't say that.
He's the best so far.
I did not say that.
Best out of, you have to look at that way.
Options available.
No.
I think the experience of curfews with Kenya is just an avenue for police to abuse citizens and extort from them, whoever is loitering out. But it's never ever meant to really bring security. I expected the government to assure the citizens that go about your business, we will secure you. They pay taxes like anyone else here.
I think
government should just beef up security, beef up intelligence, because intelligent beats crime.
Sorry to interrupt you, Raja, but I think we're beating up on the government a bit too much. I think they are doing what they can with what they have given. That this is a sensitive. No,
really.
The results. Probably there are other attacks that have been foiled before they even came into the public eye. But a curfew does have some kind of relevance and value in a security mechanism.
Let me just put it this way: these areas are heavily reliant on agriculture as just to feed themselves. So you can imagine what a curfew does to that economy. Totally disrupts it, and so you have an escalation of radicalization going on right there.
Take it underground.
Automatically, I can't eat, and it's because of this government who is so far away from me. Yeah. So it makes things a lot worse.
But Rosina, I saw you shaking your head at me. Are you saying that these people in security, they don't know what they're doing?
I think maybe they're misadvised, because how many times have we been hearing about curfews, and especially in the coastal region and northeastern? Every time since this government came on board, and they've been talking about Al-Shabaab attacks and all that, and we even have our military in Somali, and still we experience these attacks. And if you look at it, just like Rajab was saying, it's not about even attacking non-Muslims, because the people suffering there, if they were to protect their people, are actually the Muslims and the other people who are there. So for me, I think the government will have done more, especially now that you're going to the elections. When you put a curfew for 3 months, the elections are less than 1 month away. Then what message are you sending? They can't even elect their own people, because rallies go up to very late, past 6.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
just before she... Just
it's important
that the greatest massacre in Lamu happened under a curfew. You remember?
Yes.
Yeah. The Mpeketoni, there was a curfew. So,
even Wagala.
Yeah.
Happened under curfew.
Right, we shall end our discussion on that somber note. Thank you, Oruko. Thank you, Betty Waidero, for joining us. Also, Roslyn Obala, and of course, Ramadan Rajab. Before we went to break, we asked you, should President Uhuru Kenyatta interfere with the independence of the judiciary? Just to sample some of your comments here. Someone, Evans Opio says, no, President should know that his presidency is a product of the court and he's not above the law. And somebody else says, Baba Josephine says, there's a difference between criticizing the judiciary and interfering with judicial independence. Well, 18% of you say yes to that question. The president should interfere with the independence of the judiciary. And 82% of you say no. Well, that's where we end the show today. My name is Julie Masiga. Coming up right now is KTM Prime, hosted by Ben Kitili and Sophia Wanuna. Do join us next week. Same time, same place.